We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. Through the unknown remembered gate, when the last of Earth left to discover...
This episode, I'm with David and Riley. I knew David in high school, and they have their own sports podcast, and so I thought it would be cool to do kind of a podcast duo episode. So with this, I'm not scripting this really at all. I just kind of have some simple questions here and there that I'm going to ask them, but it's mostly just going to be conversational, so it'll be a bit of a different flavor than most of the episodes in the past. So anyways, to start off, what was the idea behind your podcast that got you guys to start doing it?
We were talking about it for a couple years, and we just kind of hit the point where we're like, okay, he has a laptop.
We had that itch where it's just like, okay, we had a group chat where it's just like, let's just do this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we originally was going to call it Red because, you and then our buddy Eric and then me.
Yeah.
And it would have made sense, but then, Eric he was, on the fence about it. He didn't really want it. But, I mean, hopefully in the future, we do something like that. Mm-hmm. And then we were just texting each other, okay, dude, we have an itch. We need to get started. We got to go. I need to do something.
Yeah.
That's most of my texts to all of my friends who do I do creative stuff with. I'm like, guys, we just started, we're gonna do something. Come on, we're doing it tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's funny too, because my freaking ex, she's like, people say I had a podcast voice and this and that. We should do one, blah blah blah. But it never came to terms. So it's I'm like, I got the stuff for it. I mean, hey.
And
yeah,
then
if you want to do it.
And then with me knowing the people I know, and my family and stuff, I'm related. Do you know the Bassett's or anything?
I'm not sure. Maybe
they're wrestlers.
Okay.
They're really good. My buddy Malcolm's a fighter. I started training. It's just kind of I had the right people. Mm-hmm. If we did interviews with them, it's gonna get a decent amount of views. So it's just okay.
So that's where the sports idea came from, because you just had enough people where you could turn that into.
Yeah, my buddy Malcolm, we interviewed Mason
Gibson.
Who was the other one we did?
Oh, Evan.
But with my family schedule, they don't wrestle in the winter. It's year round, so it's hard to get them on. Which I'm still trying to get at least one of my cousins. He's a coach on, but again, the time and it's heading into winter. They're busy all the time, so.
And especially since it's just the sports knowledge we have and stuff like that. It's we just feel we just want to discuss and just talk about and stuff, give our thoughts and stuff. So it's
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's kind of why I originally started this too, because it's I just have a lot of, I really enjoy talking to primarily small business owners and stuff like that. So I was like, hey, get 2 microphones and then you just start going. So
yeah, it's awesome. We appreciate you having us on.
Yeah, for sure.
So kind of what is your approach to doing the podcast? How do you go about?
We just go off of topics that we find interesting throughout the week. Yeah.
My phone is blasted with notifications from Twitter, back to back to back.
Same.
I have 20 guys I'm following on Twitter, and it's every time they post, they give me a notification. Mm-hmm. If we find it interesting, we'll write it down and we'll go through. It's sometimes I'll go through stuff, I'll write stuff down. It's just I'll look back on it, say if we want to talk about it. Sometimes I'll write a point where it's keep is ahead of time and look back on it. If it's the same, keep it. If not, then we'll just talk about something else,
For us, most of us, I feel you can say is basically football and UFC. That's pretty much what we pay attention to. So, we just run down the scores, what we think they did they could have done, all the stuff like that.
Yeah, or stuff they did prior to that, if they signed somebody, they cut somebody, someone's injured, this and that, whatever. And then, randomly we'll jump in other sports hockey and stuff like that. It's hey, how are we doing?
Well, yeah, again, hockey, baseball, basketball, you really can't do a week to week with that because
they play every
day.
Every day.
Yeah.
It's either they play back to backs, they're a day every so or this and that.
And then with UFC, it's Saturdays, and then football is
Saturday,
Thursday.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So it's it's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you just have
but it's always
things to pick from.
It's usually always nice to bring up those other topics of sports because it's people are curious and shit, and so are we. So
So what got you throughout your life? What got you interested in sports? The main thing.
Probably my parents, my dad mainly. Playing Steeler games on the TV and this and that. So I became a Steeler fan. But And, you know, randomly baseball, it's funny because growing up when I lived in New York for like a year, I'd say like this was like when I was 6 or 8 years old. Not 6. Well, just 20, like 7, 8 years old. I was really big into wrestling shit. I'm sure like most people were. I was just waiting for SmackDown to come on every Friday nights, but it was freaking baseball. It was the Yankees. I didn't know what it, but back then I didn't know what it was. All I saw was when my young age just people swinging and running. I was like, what's going on? I knew it was Yankees, and then sadly I became a Pirate fan. We all know how that goes. And then hockey, I feel like it's one of my friends probably, I'd say, because me and her, we both came in Richland at the same time. She graduated with you guys.
Who was it?
Jordan.
Oh.
She had a Penguin backpack, and I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool. And then that kind of really got me into watching hockey more. And then my dad always watched it too. Like, I remember when I was younger, I remember there was a game on TV, but I really wasn't fully invested into it because I was just being a kid. I was being dumb and stupid. But yeah, and then later I got into it. I'm just like, I'm glad I did. So, like,
with me, it was the first sport I really watched when I was younger was football, but like I didn't understand it. Like I got into football heavy when I started playing. That's where that came from. But UFC, I've been watching it since I was a kid. I mean, the first fight I vividly remember was UFC 100. That was back in, what did we take that back to, 2009?
Yeah, I think so. Well, my first UFC was UFC 196. The first fight I watched was Nunes and Shevchenko, the first one.
Yeah.
That was the first fight I watched. And that was the McGregor and Diaz pay-per-view. And that's what got me slowly into it. And I'm just sitting there like, I should have gotten this before. Because, I mean, the thing is, I knew Brock Lesnar. Like, I knew he was in the UFC. But I just didn't watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my first fight I remember was Brock Lesnar and Frank Mir 2 in that John Jones fight.
Yeah.
Back before he became what he is now.
And then, really, what really got me more into UFC was just 276 with Izzy and Cannonier, that whole page.
Yeah, we watched
That's what really got me into it more and started getting me invested more. Like, I kept up to it a little bit. Mainly, it was just McGregor I stayed in with. But
like,
other than that, I got more into, like, knowing, like, who's who and this and that. And I just started liking all these guys.
with me, like, I was always into it. Now, granted, I didn't watch the pay-per-views because when I was a kid, they were, like, $40. Now, what did I pay?
Now,
74.
now you gotta pay $80 for a pay-per-view. That's the same as, like, WWE pay-per-views. Like, back in the day, they were, like, $40. Now it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, for the longest time, me and him were streaming the fights. I bit the bullet.
But we don't talk about that.
Yeah, we don't talk about that. I bit the bullet and I bought the John Jones pay-per-view because every time we try to watch a fight, something has to happen and everything crashes, and I'm like, not doing it this time.
Or you see he has a full punch and
And then
he
it
falls down.
And then it buffers.
To me, it happens every time during the decisions. Ladies and gentlemen, then it just stops. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It happened to me the one time, what was it, 298. I had money on it, and it was the co-main event. Oh my god, well, Whitaker and Costa. I had Whitaker, and it stopped as soon. It's like, by unanimous, and it stopped. I'm like, dude, what the
Yeah.
Who won? And then they literally went back to freaking Whitaker's handways. I'm like, okay, thank God. I got to get through this main event, but, you know, sadly I lost $400. So.
Yeah.
It's okay. I lost like 26 grand over the weekend. It wasn't money that, like, I bet. It was money I was going to win.
Oh, okay.
Because Russell Wilson, you know, couldn't throw 5 more yards. But, because everything else hit. Every single thing hit. And that's the funny part.
I mean, I'm betting every freaking... I'm a cheap bettor, so I'll do, like, 50-cent bets or $1 bet, and it'll give me, like, a couple $100. Today, all of a sudden, I mean, my boss, where I work, he's like... Because the Pens play tonight. He goes... Pens will lose 3-2. Larkin will get a hat trick, and I'm just sitting there like, you know what? Half the shit he says is right, so I might do it. Last year he said Vancouver might win the cup, and I was sitting there like, I might have to make some financial decisions. But Vancouver didn't win the cup. It was Florida, and they beat Edmonton. But
I forgot about that.
That pissed me off. I mean, hey, Edmonton was down 3-0 in the series. They came back, tied 3-3, but then when they lost Game 7, and the one guy went to a division rival because apparently, you know, Edmonton wasn't physical and shit enough. I'm like, oh, I light a fire under someone.
Yup.
So I'm not sure the credibility of this, but I know I saw it like floating around a lot. Did you guys hear anything about the whole like betting on the election thing that was going on? where people were like,
my friend won $1,000 off.
$1,000,
He
really?
won $1,000 because he bet. I think he bet $500 and he got $1,000 over Trump. I'm like, dude, how?
How did I not hear about this?
I'm like, dude, where did you bet on? Like, I mean,
Bet
I was tempting if I'm just like, you know what, I'm just gonna let it go because my luck. Every time I bet on, it's like every luck. It's like you bet on something, your luck, you lose. Yeah. But you don't bet on it. God forbid they win. I'm like.
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen people joking like that they were gonna bet their entire like 401k on it and everything. I don't know.
Well,
if anyone actually followed their
depending on who they voted,
if
they would have made out
yeah,
pretty
made
well.
a lot of money.
Speaking of my 401k, I mean, I'll look and see what the heck I have.
Hey, you can do it for the next one around.
Yeah, literally. I mean, what's it gonna be, Vance and whoever else?
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, maybe hopefully the Democrats hold a primary this time around. But.
Oh my god.
So like kind of on the topic of going back to UFC, kind of what draws you to like the whole idea of UFC? Because that's always been something like for me personally, because I'm like kind of outside of the sports field, that's interested me, but I never know how to get into it.
With me, my cousin, who's my instructor, fought. I have family that wrestles. One of my best friends, Malcolm, he fights. It's just like it's always been in my family. Like it's weird. Like how do I put like?
I'll bet over $2,000 in my 401k.
Oh,
if
geez.
someone wins it, I'll be rich and retired.
Like
Anyways,
wrestling.
Sorry about that.
No,
Anyways.
wrestling. It's like how do I put it? Wrestling and jiu-jitsu are almost identical, except for jiu-jitsu has the submissions. Wrestling is you pin the dude or it goes to decision by however many points. Wrestling is like one of the founding basis for MMA, I would say.
And it's kind of funny because I'm really not into wrestling a whole much because
Yeah.
I try to get into it and I try to get it. Like I get it slowly, but it's like I'm more like I get MMA more than that. But
Like my cousin Mason, who's on the podcast, he's going to Rutgers. My cousin Bo's ranked 1 in the country.
yeah, and he's gonna be soon to come in here really soon.
I-
He's already going from.
He's visiting Rutgers in January.
Oh,
It's
so
going
it's
to be
gonna be
a
a while.
long time.
Okay,
But
it's over then.
yeah.
It's over.
It's like it's just what attracts it to me is like you have like it's been around since I would say the dawn of time. Like you had gladiators doing it. I mean,
People going to war, risking their lives every day. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
it's just like the idea. Everyone's gonna think I'm crazy by saying this, but I'm just gonna say it. I like the idea of being locked in a cage with someone and like knowing like you're not getting out unless it goes to a decision or I'm knocking you out or tapping you out. It's one or the other, and people are like, "That's weird," and I'm like, "No," because if you think about it, that's like one of the most physical, strongest sports. Like football players ain't got nothing on MMA
Oh,
fighters.
definitely, yeah.
Like, and I find it so interesting because you have so many different styles. Like, if you are a kickboxing champion, you know you're one of the best kickboxers in the world. If you're a boxing champion, you're one of the best in the world. But you can have a good striking, good takedown defense, and like almost no wrestling, and you can be a champion.
And I mean, like look at the fighters like Izzy and I hate to say his name, Pereira. I mean, they were stars in kickboxing, like over 100 fights and this and that. Look at their records, and they come into UFC and just like.
And they take it over.
They take it over.
Yeah.
Like, I just like how, like, stylistically, like, everyone has so many styles. Like, Daniel Cormier, John Jones, they were
and, you know,
wrestlers.
And Jones was the worst wrestler in high school, and then he came into UFC. Just look, like, you don't always have to be the best from before. Like, if you're struggling at one thing, it doesn't mean it's over. Just keep fighting until, you know.
Yeah. It's just, like, stylistically, too, is what attracts me to it. Because, like, you have known strikers taking on wrestlers, and sometimes the wrestlers don't even get a takedown. It's just, it could go any other way, and I find that so interesting.
So do you think, like, with UFC that it's because there's so many different, like, kind of schools that you can come at it from that gives people, like, the variety of it, where it's, like, you can be really good at one thing or really good at another thing and be bad at something else, but then still beat the person who's really good at that?
See,
I mean,
that
it
goes
depends,
down
yeah.
to, like, where you train at. Like, you have...
It's like who you train at and who you're fighting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you can have a guy that's like, doesn't wrestle, he's a perfect striker. You know? But I mean, like, you have a guy who can, like,
who can wrestle but ain't good at striking, and
Yeah.
he can control that entire fight.
and I mean, still, you can be a bad wrestler but have a really good takedown defense.
Yeah,
And we've
it's
seen
just like you have people that train you. Like we up in State College. What is that up there?
Penn State. What, Penn State?
No, the training place. I have
American top team?
American top team.
Yeah, Bo Nickel.
You have American top team, and you have Bo Nickel, who we missed out on a chance to meet. But
yeah, one of the best Penn State wrestlers. It would be alright. Literally, we laughed in the freaking. No, because it's funny. Because we were there, and I was looking at somebody in a Moose shirt, and I looked at his face. I'm like,
looks familiar.
This looks like fucking someone I know. I walk out.
Then Malcolm.
Riley, are you serious?
Malcolm calls me the next day. He's like, dude, you could have met Bo Nickel. I'm like, huh?
I knew I was standing next to someone. Like, dude, why do I know you from somewhere? Like, you look like Bo Nickel.
Like, you can come out of anywhere. Like, any place that will train MMA, they have wrestling. They have all of it. It just depends on what you want to go as. Like, it's weird. Like, for me, my wrestling comes from Shout Out Compound. And my striking jiu-jitsu comes from Flood City. It's just how it is. And, like, my cousin, like, we're all related, like, between Flood City and Compound. So it works out that way. But you can do anything. Like, you cannot focus on wrestling at all, like he said, and have a great takedown defense. Because at that point, you just have to sprawl when they go for a double leg or whatever the case may be.
So, what kind of things like interest you outside of like kind of the sports field and like this podcast field that keeps you like wanting to be interested in that kind of thing?
Gaming.
Yeah.
Because I have UFC 4 and 5 right there.
I mean, I have the same games, but lately I've been barely on them because literally all I do nowadays is just to take my mind off of things. I literally just wake up, eat, go to work, come back home, shower, go to bed, wake up the next day and do it all over again. Because I'm just lately it's just been, and then lately on just days off where like I could game this and that, I'm literally laying on my couch watching TV, just doing nothing, just recovering.
Like, I have moments where like I won't touch my PS5. Like, now that I have internet back, I've been watching TV.
Yeah.
Like, there's times I won't touch my PS5. Like, I might play a game of college football or, like, UFC or, like, my Dragon Ball game, whatever that may be. But...
Yeah, I started getting back into Dark Souls recently, so I don't know if you ever played that. But
I've heard of it.
That one grabs you if you get into it.
But, like, what keeps me interested in it is, like... I would have to say the people I know that are, like, in the sport, to be honest. Because Malcolm, he has a fight.
Yeah, December.
Yeah.
In Cleveland. We're coming home.
But
well, I don't have any family connection there, but I mean, I just consider Cleveland just a second home for whatever reason. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
it's just nice to visit a city, like a different city. I mean, I do know Cleveland is bad, like has bad parts in this and that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it is a nice city, so.
And I mean, like, what city doesn't? I mean, you go to any city, and like New York City is like the nicest place at one point, but then you can turn around
my buddy last year, we were in Nashville. I mean, that place is always fucking buzzing. Like, it can be like 3 o'clock in the morning. It's they say New York is the city that never sleeps. I think Nashville could be like a close second, honestly. I mean, like, there's always people around, this and that.
Well, bars down there, they don't close when they should.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I live down there
and when they close, it's still packed with people and it's still busy. Literally, the freaking Bridgestone Arena is literally in the middle of the city. It's like, it's crazy. And then literally down the street by the river is where the Titans play.
Our episodes range from, 50 minutes to like an hour and 40, like...
Usually like during the summer when there's like nothing going on, it's only like 20 minutes to half an hour.
And is it just determined on like how much news you can pull out of it?
Yeah,
like
usually during the summers it's always slow because there's nothing besides baseball and stuff, and then that's when the hockey finals are always there and this and that or whatever. But we barely talk about that. Mainly we just stick on the topic of football. It's like training camps and whatever and this and that.
Because we started like right after free agency.
Yeah, we started whenever the schedule came out in May, so we were just talking about the schedule and this and that, and then other stuff of what's going on. So.
And I'm not sure how the different sports seasons overlap with each other, but what do you do in like the off times where there's not like really much? Do you just wait until like some news breaks, or do you like try to?
I mean, we try to figure out stuff to talk about, like even if it's like the littlest thing, then we'll just expand upon it.
Yeah, like the good thing about sports is you have at least one sport.
Yeah, there's always going to be a headline every week, you know.
Yeah.
You can have literally a couple notes, and it can be like a trending topic, you know.
Because you got football from basically August
to
February.
And then you have baseball from freaking late February to October.
And then hockey's from November to
October from June. So.
Yeah, October till June.
And then UFC and boxing never takes an off season.
No,
it's
like
every
that
weekend or something. So it's like there's usually always going to be, and then basketball's the same way. It's hockey season. It's like November through June. So I mean, usually there's always going to be something to talk about from here to there.
And like this weekend, like we have UFC 309, which is John Jones, fighting, and then the night before you have Mike Tyson taking on Jake Paul.
Oh gosh, I saw that. I might actually look into that. That looks kind of interesting.
I'll be watching that from work probably. If I didn't get it, I'll just be setting my phone over by my freaking table and just listening to it.
I actually was going to bring that up, so it's funny that we started talking about that. Like, who do you think's going to win that fight? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I don't even think that's a question.
For whatever reason, who do you say?
Tyson.
Really? For whatever reason, I just think Paul's going to pull it out of his ass somehow, because I don't know. I mean, Tyson does look like he's in great shape for his age, but I mean...
Mm-hmm.
Well, the age is a factor, but you got to realize...
And then, Paul's always fighting guys that are 40 years old, and he never fights real... Well, I mean, I'm not saying Tyson's not a real boxer because he is, but at the end of the day, it's just like...
He's not a real boxer anymore.
Yeah.
He fights guys that are younger than him. He loses. And apparently after this Tyson fight, he's going to call out Canelo.
See, that...
He's going to get killed.
Yeah. See, like, my thing with what I think Tyson is, Tyson's, like, my height.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tyson.
He hits you like a Mack truck would hit you, like...
He's going to bite your ear off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jake Paul's got to watch out.
Oh my god.
But yeah, because that's kind of like I don't follow it too deeply. I just kind of was seeing people's reactions about it, thinking like that. It's like if Paul wins, then it was staged, and if Tyson wins, it's like, well, yeah, that's what we all expected. Like that's kind of what I thought. Some people were saying about it.
Like
I can second that.
Yeah.
I mean, even the freaking commercials and stuff feel like, is this gonna be like you watch the commercials on Netflix or TV? It just seems like you get that thought of it.
Yeah.
Like, is it gonna be staged?
Especially like with Netflix picking it up, and then like I saw on their platform like the whole week leading up to it, like they're doing all these, like they're filming their training and all this kind of stuff.
See,
they did that yesterday.
But that's the thing. Unless it's WWE, you really cannot stage fighting.
No.
That's kind of what my reaction, like from like being an outsider, was. Like I couldn't see how you could really stage that and people not be able to tell.
Like that's like you were younger watching WWE and your parents were like, it's fake. Your parents were like, no, and you're like, no, we're not.
Yeah.
Nowadays it's just like, well, I stopped watching this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
But like you can see through that. But like with boxing, I don't know how people could think that you could.
No, I do think one fight was rigged. Tyson Fury.
And Usyk.
No.
Which one? Oh, Ngannou.
Yeah.
Listen,
that fight was rigged.
Ngannou did have a great start, but Fury did come back. I will give him credit, but Ngannou should have won. But then again, Ngannou, since he won the boxing, and then he goes back to MMA and first round knockout. Like,
wait, no, he didn't go back to MMA yet.
He did. He fought in the PFL against one of the top guys in Bellator, and he fucking knocked him out in the first round.
Okay, well that wasn't.
He wasn't gonna fight. He wasn't gonna fight, but the whole situation of his son died. He wasn't gonna. That's the only reason why he fought.
Yeah.
So what do you think was rigged about that fight? Then you were talking about with Tyson and Ngannou.
Well, that's your question. That's yours.
Tyson Fury is. How do I put it? He was undefeated until 3 months ago.
Yeah, until Usyk beat him. Now they're gonna fight again in December, which I actually can't wait to see that.
Like, for instance, like Tyson Fury is like the golden boy, like of how Conor McGregor used to be in the UFC.
Except cocaine isn't cheap for him.
It's expensive. But like, I don't care who you are. If that was like one of the people watching it, it would have been 7 rounds for Ngannou and maybe 5 for Fury.
I mean, it was definitely close for sure. And my buddy at work, we were watching it together, and he's like, someone's going to fuck someone over, and usually the guy who's well-known is going to get the advantage. Look what happened.
Yup.
And after the decision was made, he's like, told you.
Like, I watched that fight, and I expected it to go 5 rounds maybe, but after Ngannou knocked Tyson down, I'm like, okay, this might be a shorter fight.
You don't see this every day.
Yeah, and then it comes out that he lost, and I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah. So do you think that might kind of be like a, just from like, I mean, not really understanding it too much, do you think it could also be like a psychological thing on the side of like the person who everyone kind of thought wasn't going to win, like that, they can kind of pull through whenever, and then...
I mean, yeah, like, you have people that, like, psychologically, like, if they suffer a loss like that, and they know they won, they don't bounce back. I hate to say it, but McGregor,
he ain't coming back, dude.
Well, he never bounced back after that.
Yeah, literally.
After Khabib.
It's a shame, though. I mean...
Like, I love McGregor as much as the next person.
But lately, it just seems like he's just getting annoying lately. I mean, I like him, like you said, but, like, it's like he's training this and that, but then the next day you're seeing him smoking weed, drinking this and that, acting like... Something ain't right.
Yeah.
Something ain't all right.
Yeah. I mean, the psychological does seem to play... Like, that's kind of the interesting thing about a lot of games, or a lot of sports, is, like, there's the... So much of it is physical, but then it's like, you know, what can't you see going on, like, behind the person?
It's like the 80s, sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Yeah. Like, but at the same time, though, like, injuries can change people.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many good NFL players that never bounce back. Aaron Rodgers is, unfortunately, one of them.
Holding the Jets hostage.
Yep.
That's just like LeBron James holding my team hostage, so it's all right. But you know, his son got sent down to the G League, so we all saw that coming. But that was besides the point.
Yeah. It's
a ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because, like, you know, kind of on my end, I'm into, like, the more boring professional stuff, like chess and things like that. Like, I don't really get into, like, the whole too much of that. And I think that was probably just because it's, like, you know, like you were talking about, like, with, you know, your family getting you interested in things. It's kind of like what grabs you first. But, like, that's what I really find interesting about, you know, something like chess, where it's, like, it is so psychological that it's, like, you know, the interesting thing is, like, you know, you could have a kid who's, like, 6 years old beat, like, the, you know, the reigning champion. And it's, like, you can't have that in a, you know, in a physical sport because,
I mean,
they're going to get kicked in the face and then go down.
I was wanting to try to get into chess, but I really didn't get it. You know,
yeah.
Because I really don't know, because I know checkers obviously, but I just don't get the difference between either or.
That's kind of like it's interesting to talk, you know, then to like people who are interested in more of like the physical sports, because it's like I look at something like that and I'm like, I don't know what's going on here, like you know, there's all these strategies that are going on underneath, and I'm like, yeah, I just see two guys fighting and it's super interesting, but like I wish I could understand what they're trying to do.
Or just watching, you know, a fishing show. You know, shout out to my uncle Alex. You know, every time I walk in his house, it's fishing. He's really big into fishing.
Yeah.
The whole side of my family is. He's always has like fishing on the TV. It's like guys on a boat. Like, did he catch it yet? You gonna get it? Oh wait! He got some. Oh, never mind. It's a branch.
Yeah. That's how I feel when people talk about golf, because it's like they're like people get so absorbed by it.
See, like, I mean, I tried getting into it. I mean, hell, there's a couple times I went to a shooting range with my buddies, and then there's a time I just got bored. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna hit some golf balls. Screw it. So.
Yeah.
And I mean, I tried to get into it last summer, but I mean, money was kind of tight. But you know.
Yeah, golf is definitely the sport for people who.
Going back to the psychological thing, like, you can have people like, I hate to say it, Perea beat Izzy. He was coming in, but like at the same time though, like when you're fighting someone in like that aspect.
I've seen a face over here. This looks like it could be a debate.
No, I just hate Pineda.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I do too.
I just hate.
I like Israel Adesanya, who he beat.
No, it's Israel Adesanya. You gotta say it right. You like it when he says it his style. Adesanya. Go ahead, Israel.
Like, it's like a psychological thing, because like, you know, they have a game plan going into that fight, and like most people, they thrive in situations where they know they can stop that game plan. It's and essentially it boils, it's mind games at that point. Like, you're gonna spend entire 1 to 2 rounds possibly
making the right moves, otherwise
making the right moves to set up something later in the fight. It's so decent. And the only fighter that I know that really can do that really well is Izzy and Volkanovski, because they're the ones that you can tell what they're doing.
And they've been a champion for how long? Like they've been like 2-3 years of champion status. And it's like
they were champions from 2019 to 2023.
What's like is that like the kind of the longest extent that someone's a champion for?
Usually you rarely see champions hold a title for that long, but I mean
it's usually like 3 to 4 fights usually, but like you have Adesanya and Volkanovski and John Jones. I mean, Anderson Silva still has held the belt
John
longest.
Jones is the youngest champion. He's never lost a fight, and he's held the belt probably since 2013, 14. He's been a champion for 10 years.
And is that does that kind of just determine by their age how physical they can stay? I mean, because like obviously you can only stay. At least the way I look at it, you can probably only stay competitive at a certain level for so long.
It's weird too, because you know you see the guys at their prime at like their mid-30s, but usually that's when they
explain that, because I know that answer.
Well, yeah, I know you. Yeah.
So you have these lighter weights. Their prime hits like me and David's age. Then you have the ones that are like I'd say 150 and up.
Yeah.
Their prime is late 30s.
I mean, how
Or mid 30s to like early 40s. Like
how
it just
freaking Glover Teixeira came when he was 42.
yeah. I mean, it just because you have a certain longevity, and what affects your longevity is how many hits you take. Like Max Holloway, I'm shocked that dude's still fighting because he has how many hits absorbed?
And he's still
Top of his game.
and he just hit his 30s.
Yeah.
And he just said he was done at 145. So I mean,
Yeah. And then you have like Dustin Poirier, who's taken
which sucks.
so many hits.
And the best he's got was an interim belt. I mean, Holloway's he had the belt for a good bit and had it for a couple of defenses, but like it sucks because I feel like Poirier's story could have been so much better because he's gone through war with like all the top dogs. He was
Single one.
He was number 3 ranked before, and he was an underdog against a number 12 ranked guy. And it's just like go on the rankings. It's just like lately it seems like rankings just don't matter. Like you can be the worst guy, fight a top guy. Like recently there was just a number 10 guy ranked because he was the only guy available to fight a championship.
Yeah.
And like either because everybody was either coming off losses, like 1 through freaking 9, everyone was coming off losses. You're booked for another fight, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you're lowering the rankings and you get off a win, but it's like they don't think you deserve it yet.
Yeah. Like, but Steve Erceg, he put up a hell of a fight though.
But it's weird because all I saw was Pantoja's side of it.
Yeah.
And it's funny because
But for him to last 5 rounds against Pantoja, like I even gave that dude his credit because
and now just recently in December, the last pay-per-view fight, going back to Pantoja, he's fighting. He's a champion that never says no. You have all these guys
that are scared.
Well, here's the thing: the UFC just signed a guy off of another promotion, and it's rare you see new guys getting a title shot like that. He's already getting the title shot, and he was a top guy in another promotion. Literally, he's fighting Pantoja for the championship. Kai Asakura, literally, it's gonna be them two. Everybody did not want to fight Asakura, but Pantoja, like I said, he never says no.
Yeah,
And that's what slowly got me liking Pantoja, because I didn't really like him first time, but then I'm slowly like freaking
But like he's also the one that went to war with like everybody.
like DDP. I really didn't like him because of the whole Izzy and Strickland situation, but now I'm slowly gaining respect for him.
Yeah.
And then Elias slightly because of Volk, but I don't. But watch, it's gonna be like he shows respect, and then at the end of the day, it's like
it's all for show.
He's gonna run. Like I gained respect when he beat Holloway. I went, all right, well, you know what? He might be legit.
Yeah.
He's still an idiot, but like, and lately you just have false champions. It's like you win the belt, but then you run.
Yeah. So what is it about him that you're not like super into? Is it just like his character? Or,
His
like
character.
Taporia?
Yeah, he's Conor McGregor wannabe.
Yeah,
see.
that's
Like
what. Like I didn't mind him at first.
Yeah.
But the moment he ripped the belt off of Volk and like tried to take it, like Conor McGregor did that almost 10 years ago now.
I guess. Well, and also, I really didn't like him with the whole Paddy Pimblett situation because apparently they were saying like, oh, he's a duck, he's scared. I mean, we know the facts. And now it's like they want to fight, but now recently Elias just saying, yeah, no, I don't want that fight, but Paddy still wants to fight.
And so is the kind of the setting up of a fight, is it the UFC contacts the two people who they're interested in and then they just have to agree to it?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It can be a verbal agreement and then
you just sign a contract.
Sign a contract.
So is there any sort of like structure, like these are definitely who's fighting and they just have to do it, or is it just always they have to agree to do it first?
I feel like if
you can pick and choose who you fight to an extent,
See,
but like
here's my opinion. I feel like if you're a champion, you can't say no.
yeah,
you're
like
a champion for a reason, and you get the next. But lately, I guess you can say no for whatever reason. I feel like if you say no and you're a champion, you should
like
just get
I
the
can
belt
understand.
stripped off
Like the only way I can understand is if you want another fight to gauge where you are to fight that guy. Like you want to fight a guy that has a similar style. But it's not that big of a risk. Like that, I can understand.
See, like, oh man, that reminded me of what UFC 151 or 152 was. Jones was fighting somebody, but that fight got called off because someone was injured. Chael Sonnen was gonna freaking be the replacement, but Jones was sitting there like, I'm not fighting Chael on 9 days' notice. There's a reason.
No, because he's up there with one of the legends.
And I would have wondered what that fight would have been like.
Did they end up? Or no, he ended up fighting Daniel Cormier.
No. Well, that whole pay-per-view card got canceled. He ended up fighting the same guy at the next pay-per-view, and then like a later card, those two ended up fighting.
That's what I thought.
In all places in New Jersey.
But
And there's a.
It always happens in New Jersey.
Like I said, I would like to have seen what would have happened if he would have took that fight short notice.
I think that would have been.
That would have been probably went the distance, but it would have been tough for Jones probably.
Because his style was so different compared to who he was fighting.
Son is probably one of my favorite Hall of Famers, honestly. I just like the way he his. Look up his trash talks on YouTube. It's so funny, but it goes along so perfectly.
Yeah.
So kind of to return back to talking about your podcast as we kind of probably get to where we can start to end. What do you see yourselves like expanding that greatly, or you kind of just like where it's at now, or it's just like a what are your thoughts for that?
It's a start.
It's a start.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we don't really. We would like to see us be one of the best podcasts, but it's gonna take a lot of time.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely try and a comedy tour would be nice.
Yeah, like it's just we got to do certain things. Like I got to get to fighting to promote it and just stuff like that.
We just have to come up with ideas, talk to people, because I mean I feel like we have the tools and we have the connections to reach out to people. I mean I have numbers of people from like the NHL and this like that and like whatever, and I know people I can talk to.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of time. I feel like
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that definitely is the biggest thing, like, with people who are doing podcasts, where it's, like, unless you really have, like, something where it's, like, just you by yourselves, or, like, you can pull, like, the most original thing, it really is, like, who you can get on the show, who can then, like, kind of, like, bring the promotions, because, like...
Joe Rogan did that.
Yeah, I mean, because he started out, like, already, like, kind of famous because of, like, Fear Factor and stuff like that, but then he just got the right people on, and then the right people made those episodes get, like, 60 million views in the areas now.
I mean, it's a start. I feel like 2025 is going to be a good year. I mean, hopefully I'm expecting over 100 people to follow us by then.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird because our social medias, because I promote our pods by, like, funny little videos.
Yeah.
That gets more attention
than the actual videos.
Yeah, that's how mine is, too, like, on, because I use TikTok mostly, like, for the advertising for, like, TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah, we do Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, but it's like...
Yeah.
And then we just started getting off Facebook, and I was like, I was a little on the fence about it, because Facebook's Facebook. I'm really not usually on there a lot, but it's like...
And so then, like, you run through, what is it, like, Spotify, YouTube, that kind of thing?
Yeah, we're on Spotify. YouTube is our video version of the pod, and then our audio versions are, like, on Spotify, Apple Music, or Apple Podcast, and usually anywhere you get your podcast, honestly.
Nice. And so you brought up about how, like, 2025 you see, like, a lot of, like, possible growth. Like, what kind of things are you, like, really looking to do, like, from the end of this year into next year?
Interview more people that, like, I had, like, my connections were kind of sort of focused on.
I mean, it'd be nice if it took us to places where we didn't think we'd be next year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
how, like I said, we're doing this and we're in his living room, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, here we are right now.
I know. I mean, I feel like it's just gonna, like you, I mean, I just feel like it's gonna expand, like it's only a start, like,
Yeah.
I mean, hell, our views have really not been good that much. I mean, it had a great start, but then it's just started to slow down a bit, but I feel like lately, hopefully, it's just...
Like, our first view, though, it was still winter time, and I feel like winter is when people get the most, like, the best numbers, because there's really...
Yeah, people are inside a lot listening.
And, I mean, there's other podcasts out there that they're just talking about, they're, like, far ahead of us, so, I mean, I feel like it's understandable they go to them, and then who knows if they show up with us, but I mean, you know.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that, like, I'm kind of worried a lot about, like, as I, can start to kind of see different ways to expand my podcast. And so, like, probably the same thing with you guys, where it's like, I don't want to, if it does start to expand, kind of like lose what made it what it was in the beginning. And so, like, that's why I'm so insistent right now on keeping it, like, kind of as like a travel show where I just go to the person. I mean, if we need to meet at, like, my apartment or whatever, like, that works. But, like, I like the idea of, like, if someone's in Pittsburgh, I drive to them, if that's possible. And so, yeah, like, I don't know if there's something, like, about the podcast that makes it, or about just people's podcasts in general, like, where it's, like, the original thing is what makes it work, or if it's, like, you need to evolve to something else.
And, I mean, even when you expand and you get big, it can easily take one mistake to just screw it all up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They find something that you said, like, 20...
yeah, we'd be screwed. We'd definitely be screwed.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, then you also could take the South Park method, where it's, like, you say everything, and then they can't get you for anything, because they just expect it.
We should try that.
Yeah. No, just make humor better again, dude. That's all I'm saying.
People are too soft.
Like, this... whatever happened?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what happened.
It just went to shit, like, late 2010s. I'm just like, oh,
I mean, really, I think if you can put it on anything, it's probably social media, where it's like, that's what you can do, because it's like...
That's why it's just like, hey, if you don't have a good humor, I don't think this is for you, and you should just...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like, humor has many different things. It's like, just like, your preferences with sports, like everyone kind of likes their own thing, but it's like, with humor, it's like some people enjoy South Park, some people enjoy other, stuff, and so each to their own. But the problem is, it's like whenever the most popular form of something kind of like overtakes all of the other forms, then, they need to be more accepting, like that other people can think other things are funny. And that's where that freedom comes in there. But so kind of just to like end off, with all this stuff, how would you, I asked kind of like a variant of this to all my guests on the show in one way or another. How would you say that like your experiences with your podcasting, and then also just like with your sports and anything else in your life has really like changed you from who you were originally to kind of who you are now, and has gotten you interested in new things, all that sort of stuff?
It's opened me up to the idea of being supportive of other teams that I should actually hate.
I mean, it's got me more creative and just thinking outside of the box, like usually like what I wouldn't always do, but like I try to be creative as much as I can.
Definitely.
And just just do whatever I gotta do.
And I mean, hey, we met doing the school news. So I mean, it's like you can start really anywhere and then go really anywhere from that.
Yeah.
Hell, we freaking recorded ourselves, we edited ourselves, and then it was like, okay, it's done.
Yeah, it's done. There you go. And
Wait, no one did anything? Like
the first half of the school year, like it was just me and him.
Yeah, it really was.
No one did anything.
Because like Caleb would help us. He would edit it, but like other than that, like everyone else kind of
like he would sit there and like people would like scroll the notes down, stuff like that. But that was all they did. And then when it came to editing, it was just like, all right, get out of the way.
But I mean, like when I look back on this, and I mean, you probably feel the same way looking at it. Like I'm kind of grateful that that's how it was, because it's like we could just do what we wanted. So it's like I could really. And then especially whenever it was just me after like everyone graduated, it's like I really kind of just had to develop who I was, like my creative voice, and that kind of got me more interested, I think, in like with this podcast and with all the other stuff I work on, to like really make sure that it's like my voice speaking through it and not like all these other people and trying to talk into it.
I'm the king and you ain't gonna do nothing about it.
Well, as we get to the end here, then thank you guys for coming on the show, and hey, I can always come on your show, or we can always do a second episode, whatever works out. But I enjoyed the time. I've really been liking recently the past couple episodes. I've been trying to like not script as much, and I think they've come out a lot better because of